So let's kind of hop on over to the military side of things. So my heart goes out to you because Kevin was in the Marine Corps, and he was in the reserves, but he did deploy to Iraq during 2003, and so I understand in that sense. I can empathize with you because, and I know it's not the same thing. I know like you're immersed in it still, like, but I can understand what it's like to kind of lose the love of your life. I can't imagine having children and going through that, having your spouse be gone. But you guys said that he was deployed to Qatar, and then your family also deployed to Germany. So speak a little bit about that. How was that?
When we first got married, so we weren't even married for like 6 months. He had a deployment for 200 days to Qatar, and it was very intense. Like I was living in a new country.
Mm-hmm.
Meeting military was so foreign to me. Like
Yeah.
where I grew up in Toronto, like no one's really in the military there.
Right.
Like our
Right.
military, not like the U.S. military, but
Yeah.
like Canadian military. It's like it could do a lot better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
they're not very like patriotic or anything.
Yeah.
And then I come to the States and it's like the military is a huge deal. Now I'm a part of it.
Yeah.
So him being gone, like that was a big challenge for me. And also like it wasn't it was just 12-hour time change. You
Mm-hmm.
can't really speak to each other.
Yep.
I
I
don't
know
really know
that.
what he's going through
Mm-hmm.
because the to speak to one another was very challenging.
Yeah.
Um, with the time change and just with everything in general. Like it was just a very challenging time in our lives. I didn't have kids at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was working as a pastry chef.
Mm-hmm.
I was with my sweet little dog,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty much it. That was my life. And so I decided to like really start to exercise. I was just running, and I
Mm-hmm.
would run like 3, 4,
Mm-hmm.
5Ks a week, and like that was just like my thing, like my
Yes.
outlet. The military wives are really great and supportive, but
Mm-hmm.
after that, like we didn't have any more deployments for a good long time. We had this wonderful opportunity of being deployed to Germany, which was like very safe. The family was allowed to go, so we all went there for about 60 days. Andre was
Mm-hmm.
there for another 30 days. It was a cool experience.
So at this point, you would have had Penelope because this was
Penelope, Samuel,
2022.
and Violet were
Oh,
all
all of
born. So
them.
all my
Yeah.
3 kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like my eldest was, I think she was 6. Samuel was 4, and then Violet wasn't even 1 yet.
Mm-hmm.
So just like itty bitties
Mm-hmm.
with us in Germany, which
Oh,
is kind of
wow.
wild. Yeah, but it was cool that we got to be there together. And then actually, you know how the military works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we met a family in Scott Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to Germany, and then they're deployed there as well.
Wow.
So how cool is that,
Yeah,
right? It's
that
like
is
someone
awesome.
we know.
Yep.
Like we used to hang out with them when we were in St. Louis, and
Yep.
now we're here with them again in Germany.
Yeah.
But I mean, deployments are hard. They suck.
Yeah.
I'm really thankful that the kind of job that he has, he's not like boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't even imagine what you went through.
Yeah.
Like, that is
Yeah.
insane. That is so hard for
It.
you guys.
Yeah.
So like I feel for you in that way, like
Mm-hmm.
where I feel like nobody really understands what you're really going
Mm-hmm.
through unless you're in it. And like
Mm-hmm.
that's why I really love the community that I have with
Yeah.
the families in the squadron, the pilot
Mm-hmm.
wives. Like we get it. Like
Yep.
we're in it together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't a deployment, but in August 2021,
Mm-hmm.
my husband volunteered to go help with the evacuation in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, and I remember like a few weeks before he was asked to volunteer, we would just be like sitting outside and just enjoying the evening, and we were watching what was happening in Afghanistan. They're like, the Taliban's now taking over this town.
Scary.
They're moving in, like they're taking over other areas. And Andre's like, shit's hitting the fan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And then one day he said, like, we're watching the news, like Andre comes up to me and he's just like, they just turned the electricity off in the prisons and the Americans left.
Oh my
And I'm
goodness.
like, what? And then chaos ensued.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm going, I know, like, I'm not supposed to, like, say certain things,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to say certain things.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of person
Speak your
that
heart,
I
but
am.
you're also.
I mean, I'm
you
in
were
it.
in it.
Like, I was in it. It was the Biden administration. Like, did the
Mm-hmm.
worst, like, botched,
Mm-hmm.
horrible
Mhm.
evacuation out of Afghanistan, and it put
Mhm.
so many people's lives at risk, including my husband,
Mm.
including the people in my squadron, and Americans were killed.
Yeah.
And so Andre volunteered to um, help with the evacuation of people.
Yeah.
So we didn't know if it was going to be like who he's evacuating. They like instantly put teams in Charleston on standby, and so the people were there waiting to just take off whenever they could. Andre would told me like before he was evacuating, he's like, I can't communicate with you. He's like, I can't send you anything. I can't be texting with you. Like if my phone's traced, he's like, it's not allowed. So we have to do like special codes
Mm.
um, to like speak to each other.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this means that. So it wasn't even like, hey, I love, like he couldn't speak to me.
Mm.
So one day I know like he's gone and it was like a whole route to even get there. I'm like, it's so far. And then you have to like pick up certain supplies. And like the 2 days before, Andre's telling me that they need so much food. They need like baby formula. They need
Mm.
diapers. Like so
Yeah.
many people. It's just such chaos. And like the staff, they're like the Americans there are working like 24 hours a day shifts. Like they're just so
Mm.
drained. So I called the local Harris Teeter and I was like, hey, my husband's going to Afghanistan to help with this
Mm.
evacuation. Is there anything you can donate
Wow.
to for him to bring?
Mm.
And they like let us go into Harris Teeter and the one at Ardrey County Lancaster
Really?
Highway, yeah. And then just like
Oh.
load up shopping carts and shopping carts of whatever
Wow.
for them. So Andre brought all that to work and he ends up like taking off. They took off and it was, you know, we're at all the wives came to say goodbye to
Mhm.
our husbands and we're just looking like the kids were so little, and
Mhm.
they just took off and you're like, are we ever gonna see you again?
Oh my gosh.
It's like, is this, you don't know what's gonna happen.
Pam, you told me I wasn't gonna
I
cry.
know we're not crying today. Hey,
Ah.
he's home. He's coming here soon.
Yeah. No, I know. I know he's here,
But
but
like you
that's
don't know what's gonna
it's
happen, and
hard.
so and actually I was we were at Triumph then.
Yeah.
So, but I was very like felt very new, and so I remember being there and just like watching the kids' classes, and I just couldn't even like tell everybody what I
No.
was going through because it was just so crazy.
I wish
We
I
were
was
just heavy in
there.
prayer, and
Yeah.
we were just I didn't know what to expect. So the day that he landed is the day that the suicide bomber killed 13 Americans.
Oh my gosh.
And our phones were like lit up. All the wives are losing their minds.
Yeah.
What's happening? Have you heard from your husband? Like, we're not even supposed to be like texting them, and we're so stressed out.
Yeah.
And we're like, is there any news from our crew? Like, well,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah.
And then finally, we got news that the guys were okay, and you're just like, okay, we can breathe. But oh my gosh, Americans were just killed.
Yeah.
Like, this is how crazy it is, and we don't even know how far like Abbey Gate is from the landing strip.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys remember, like, just like come back a bit.
Mhm.
There's a viral video out there of my husband's plane, not his plane, but the plane that he flies,
Mhm.
taking off
And
in
people.
Afghanistan,
Yep.
and there's people
Yep.
hanging off of it. Like it is, people they were willing to risk their lives and to
Mhm.
die that way than to deal with the Taliban. And
Yeah.
that's how crazy it is.
Yeah.
And so when you guys know that like I get very emotional
About.
about um, situations in our country, it's
Yeah.
because of this, because I have skin in the game.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so my husband ends up landing. Then they have to vet people.
Yeah.
How do you vet people? Who
Yeah.
are you vetting?
Yeah.
You have such time restraints.
Yeah.
Who's getting on your plane?
Yeah.
People are loading onto his plane. There was over 600
Mm.
Afghanis. There weren't Americans there. The Americans were the crew.
Wow.
They had 600 Afghanis loaded onto the plane like something you have never seen in your entire life. If the picture wasn't taken, you wouldn't believe it.
Did you just share that the other day?
The other
I
day.
saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was 200 kids on that plane.
Oh my gosh.
These are the lives that were saved. And they were sent to Germany.
Mm.
And so like I said, we were deployed to Germany.
Yeah.
And so the following year,
Mm-hmm.
guess who our neighbors were?
Someone here.
A lot of the Afghanis. I'm serious. It was crazy. You're just like, wow, like these people's like their lives have been changed because of Americans.
Yeah.
And
I
like
love that.
our crews went to go help people
Yeah.
who they don't know, risk their lives for not even Americans,
Yeah.
risk their lives for absolute strangers. And there's like I don't even know how to like say like if there's it's not even gratitude. It's just like it's amazing the
Yeah.
sacrifice
Yeah.
that these men and women
Mm-hmm.
will do for the United States, for their country,
Right.
for their kids,
Right.
for other people's kids,
Yeah.
for people who might not even like them.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like
So
that is
sacrificial. Yeah.
such bravery.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
I really love our troops. I
I
really love our
know.
veterans. You know,
Yeah.
like wherever I can help them, even it's just smiling with them,
Yeah.
talking with them.
Serving them in a
Like
way. Yep.
it doesn't you don't need much. Just like to joke around with them, like just make them smile. You
Yeah.
know, like people have been through horrible things, and like my husband,
Mm-hmm.
his whole body works.
Yep.
Like he can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming over here soon. We're hanging out.
Yeah.
Like he's totally fine. Like thank you God. Like I pray
Mm-hmm.
so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many people that we know who have
Yeah.
had like body parts blown off. They
Mm-hmm.
have to deal with that, like traumatic brain injuries
Yeah.
from serving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this is just it's very near and dear to my heart. So I really try to help out whichever way I can with them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's so amazing. And thank you to Andre and everyone that went over there. That's amazing. To hear that. That's like, I feel like I just remember it happening like yesterday. It was infuriating.
Yes.
But also at the same time, it's just so rewarding to know that like there are people that are willing to do that. But thank you to you and the kids too, because that's
Crazy.
just such a sacrifice. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Like going back to even when Kevin was deployed, I never in a million years thought that would happen.
Right.
I mean, we were just college kids.
Oh my gosh.
And he's in the reserves, and we're like, yeah, he's doing the 1 weekend a month thing, and
Right.
like we never ever thought you'd get the call, hey, you're going to war, and then showing up in Iraq, and then like missiles flying overhead and like things like that happening. It was
Horrifying.
insane. And I do remember there was a time, and again, it's not the same thing. It's not apples and apples, but like, I do remember there was a time where I wasn't able to talk to him, and it was months, and you don't know what's happening.
Right.
And I remember like kind of cultivating the other girls, the girlfriends at the time, because we weren't wives at the time, but
Right.
girlfriends at the time that also had skin in the game in a sense. And we would just kind of, they became my people. Like I had friends, but they were my girls because we would do sleepovers. We would do like whatever we could because it was just like that hole in your heart, knowing that the other half of you is off in the unknown and you don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know how he's coming home.
Yes, absolutely.
If he's coming home, how he's coming home.
Yes. And it's not the same circumstance. No, I know it was a different operation all on its own, but just knowing that they're going into that like tumultuous situation and you don't know the outcome. And in the same sense too, I just remember in college too where it was an 11-hour difference, I think, between, because he started in Kuwait, but then they would also go into Iraq. And but I just remember like knowing like he was going to call, but I never knew where I was going to be or in that moment. So I can, again, like empathize with that, just knowing that like it's so scary. But at the same time, I'm so thankful that for people like Andre or like Kevin or anyone that like is willing to put their life on the line or serve.
Yeah.
And it's so doing it knowing the culture of America in a way, how some Americans seem kind of ungrateful or you seem like it's not that people don't appreciate it.
Right.
But in my eyes as a Christian, I just also think like, it's what Jesus did, right? So in a way, I'm kind of like, what a great testimony to do that.
Yeah,
and to do that for your brothers.
It's the biggest sacrifice.
Yes,
like it's giving up yourself for others.
For other people.
Incredible. It is so brave. It's the most wonderful thing.
Yes.
And like having small kids and being in that position, whereas they don't really understand what happened, but they will know what happened. I will let them know. I will remind them. We will talk about it.
Yep.
all the wives, what they went through, what they're going through,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's very hard. It's
Yeah.
very, very hard, but they're very strong women.
Mm-hmm.
They're very independent, and they're so freaking brave.
Yeah.
Like they're like a group of badass women, my pilot wives. Like I
Yeah.
love those girls. They
That's
are so
awesome.
freaking tough.
Yeah.
They solve all the problems, and we kind of
Mm-hmm.
just stick together and we're like, which husband's gone? Who needs help?
Yeah.
And so actually going forward,
Yes.
we're having another deployment,
Okay.
a 90-day one coming up.
Mm.
So that's going to be this summer.
Pam.
Um, and most of the squadron is going. And so, with my husband's new position, means that I'm helping out more and making sure that everyone's going to be taken care of. We're
Mm-hmm.
making lists of who's doing the full deployment, who's doing the half deployment, who's not deploying. We have numbers. I'm working directly with people in the squadron to give me exactly what I need so that I can help the families, making sure that everyone is taken care of during
Mm-hmm.
this challenging time.